good evening. This is Talk with Jon here on KMMU, Main Street Media. Let's see, kmmu.org, Main Street Media, Utah. Looking forward to being with you here today. You can catch this show and all of our other shows on Main Street Media, Utah, here on KMMU. You can go to kmmu.org, and then you can go to, up at the top, there's three buttons, three tabs you can punch on or click on, as it were, and that is for Rumble, YouTube, and X, formerly Twitter. And that's the ways that you can watch this show. Looking forward to being with you here today. I'm going to introduce my guest here momentarily. We've got a bunch to cover. But first, let me start off the show with my, what's the proper term? Show prayer, and then the show mantra. I hope my show is a gift back to my forefathers, the founding fathers, and may it be an acceptable token to our Father above. That's the prayer of my heart when it comes to doing this show. And then the mantra: where there is liberty, there is the Spirit of Christ. Where the Spirit of Christ is, there will be liberty. And the greater the Spirit of Christ, the greater liberty will be. Now, let me introduce my guest, Michael Letts of Invest USA. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here today. Appreciate you being on board, and looking forward to having a great conversation with you. You're here on the first Monday of the month. We have you every first Monday of the month so far, and we intend on keeping that, and often we will get you to be able to join us here and there throughout the month. But it's been several weeks since I've had you on, and there's a lot to go over. Now, folks, please forgive me. Yes, I'm working on getting my in-home studio situated and up and running properly. It still is not set up right. Hopefully we can get that done here not too far off from now. Made another moving things around. So as you can see, I'm in a different kind of position differently than I have been in the past. So wanted to mention that because I know some people would notice it. One last thing. I want to say happy birthday to someone I've known for a long time. I'm going to say hi, happy birthday, Mrs. N, as it were, and let's get to it. So Michael Letts, thank you for joining me today, brother. Appreciate you being here. Ton of topics to cover. And there's there's two of them that we're going to get to that will be really, well, maybe a lot of them will be getting really into the weeds, but I've got another friend that's in the business, and I didn't get his permission to go over what we're going to be talking today. I probably should have reached out to him, but boy, it's just been a crazy day with work. In fact, I had just a few minutes before I hopped on. I was working up until a few minutes before we hopped on here now. So, but I reached out to Michael and said, Michael, hey, here's the subjects that I want to cover, and I want to go kind of a deep dive. So let me go over with everyone the topics that I talked to Michael Letts about covering. So I want to hit Venezuela, and then and then there's a bunch of subsections within that. And then I want to get to Mexico. I think I even want to hit what's happening with Nigeria. I want to hit obviously the New York City mayor race. Probably we'll touch on Virginia, maybe even New Jersey, the governor's race for Virginia and New Jersey. I want to hit any Charlie Kirk information updates. California threatening ICE agents, driver's license issues, and here in Utah we got problems. Most states only give that driver's license, from what I understand. It seems like most states do it in English. Utah does 14 languages, and if one of those 14 don't work for you, we'll find an interpreter, so you can take the exam. Yeah,
CDL.
and, well, for CDL, and I think it's for anyone that wants a
Wow.
driver's license. Also, I think we'll try and go back. We'll hit. So, to me, it's just insane. Why, John? Why is that a problem? Because 99.9% of the signs here in Utah are in English. And
Exactly.
if like almost all of the signs for driving are in English, you need to know there is many videos out on YouTube where you can pull up foreign driver doesn't understand foreign CDL driver doesn't understand English. Like, a guy was pulled over. I want to say he was pulled over in the South, and I can't remember what state it was. It was an Asian guy. So, I mean, I'm not saying he was a bad dude trying to come in and destroy America, but the officer, the guy opens his door, had his door open, and talking to the patrolman. I'm assuming he was patrolman, but who the federal officer, and he goes, what company did you drive for? And he says, California. I'm like, something tells me that's not the name of your company. Okay. Guess what, folks? I just remembered. Okay, so Michael Letts and I are friends from way back. I think everybody knows Michael Letts. Guess what? I realize not everybody knows Michael Letts. So let me introduce Michael Letts real quick. Michael Letts, as it says, is with InvestUSA.org. InvestUSA.org. He is the founder, CEO, and president of InvestUSA. InvestUSA gives out thousands of bulletproof vests and also helps with education for communities. They have given out over 17,000 bulletproof and active shooter vests to law enforcement and even to our troops, our National Guard, as well as other first responders. He has given these vests out too. So his organization does a ton of good. Please go to. So I want to real quickly mention his Twitter handle is InvestUSA.org, not a dot, just InvestUSA.org, and then his personal Twitter handle is at Michael Letts USA, and just as he spells his name. So then one other thing before we get going any further, I forgot two things. A, to introduce you, and B, we're supposed to be starting every show with you opening with a word of prayer. Since you are a chaplain, let's do that, if you would.
Be happy to. Let's open it up with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for once again an opportunity to be able to espouse truth and to make your word known. We ask that you would bless this time together. Bless all of our audience members. May they come to see the light. We ask all this in Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. All right. So I've already stated, but let me restate a number of the topics, and there's some other topics that we probably will wind up touching on. Who knows? We're going to hit Venezuela. There is a ton to cover in Venezuela, from the gangs, the drug boats, to their president, what we do. Then the New York, let's see. I also want to do a Charlie Kirk update, and I think we ought to lead that off. Driver's license issues throughout the United States. Utah is being one of them. California threatens ICE officer. FBI raid in Michigan exposes terror cell. AIPAC and congressman from Florida, Randy Fine, equate Tucker Carlson to Hitler. And the Heritage Foundation says they are going to stand by Tucker Carlson. And then Josh Hammer and Newsweek come at Tucker pretty hard and say he's just like a fox in the hen house, and you need to neutralize him. And I'm going to ask I definitely want your opinion on what that statement means, what you take that to mean as a law enforcement individual. Uh, President Trump has said that there's a good chance he's going to go after some terrorists in Nigeria that are attacking Christians. Reports that Trump is looking into attacking cartels in Mexico, and then the New York City mayor race. So those are just some of the topics that we will be covering today. I don't know if there's a good chance that we're going to get together because Venezuela and going after the drug gangs, I think is going to be a pretty significant piece of what we're going to be doing. But I want to get to, and we may even hit Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, and some of the others. So, and other DOJ type things we might cover as well. But let's start with Charlie Kirk. What do we know? It seems like for how big they came out, big and bold, meaning media wise, for the first week, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, they seem to be pretty big on it. It's pretty quiet now with Charlie Kirk as far as what the FBI and the state of Utah is putting out. But the questions just keep on mounting, Michael Letts.
Well, they do. And that's one of the big problems. John, you asked the question, what do we know? Well, I like we use that word know. Really, we know no more than we did right after the shooting. Here's what is being the hypothesis or the theory is that Mr. Tyler Robertson took the fatal shot. He did it alone, and they apprehended him within 72 hours after that. Basically, he's going to go to jail. Case is closed. Where are the problems with that, though? And we're not getting any answers out of these problems. So
I want to throw in one thing.
Sure.
So this may be not nationally known, but it's known here in Utah to some level, and nationally known somewhat. The defense team is he's yet to truly be brought up. Oh, I forget the specific term. It's not an indictment, but when the filing of the charges and everything, where he goes to face the charges, right? The charges
Correct.
are went out. They said this is what, and when they are going to pronounce they're guilty, not guilty, the defense attorneys are saying the information is so voluminous that they have yet to be able to come to a determination whether they can give whether Tyler Robinson is guilty or not. And
that was done intentionally.
Pardon me?
That was done intentionally.
Yes. So my point is, you'd think from the way they presented the case that it was slam dunk and it wouldn't be that hard, right?
Correct.
Okay, so please continue. I wanted to throw in that caveat.
Well, there are some real obstacles in the case. You do not have a murder weapon. You say, of course we did. We found a rifle. Yeah, you found a rifle, all right. But you didn't find the bullet. So you have no way of comparing whether that rifle shot the bullet that caused the death. So that's a real big problem, especially when the bullet should have been contained because there were backdrops. It wasn't like he was firing over an open pasture and it gazed him and just, kept traveling miles down the road. So that becomes a real stickling issue. Second problem they're having a difficulty in being able to identify a motive. They have a difficulty being able to place him exactly at the location. They have a difficulty in being able to assess that trajectory where they're saying he was, that trajectory was exactly how the bullet would have hit had he been in that location. So there are so many facts coming up now, and there are other people who were in the same vicinity who were not questioned. There were people that came forward right after that, to provide a diversionary tactic. I did it. I did it. Did. So there are so many issues for them to come out within what 2 weeks, I think it was, John, maybe a little less. And suddenly, look, case is over. We got our guy. We know exactly who did it. He's confessed, and we're don't need to look any further. We get
Michael,
further the
I
points.
think that was in less than a week, and I want to say that was in. I want to say it was like maybe the assassination happened on a Wednesday. I want to say even before a week, they had the press conference with Phil Lyman, and I found and very, very questionable that the governor was the lead person in that that took in the media, whatever you want to call it. It was just a media. I would say a media presentation is probably
It
the
was a
most.
sideshow.
Yeah, and Spencer Cox was there the majority of the time, giving out the information. They didn't have the county sheriff, who I believe the Utah County Sheriff is the, at least from the state of Utah, is the lead organization that is handling it right
That is
now from
correct.
the state of Utah. Now, it's also a federal investigation as well. So who's really in the lead? Who knows? I'm sure there's a little bit of a who's got jurisdiction over this. But Kash Patel and Governor Cox were the lead face individuals in that news conference, that news, whatever it was, the hey, we're giving out what we think we should give out is kind of how I'm going to put it. And so the bottom line is when you see that from the way they presented it, hey, he turned himself in, he's admitted guilt, yada yada yada. Like you said, since then it's almost like crickets, and we're going, where's the it's not the coroner's report, but where is that report, right? They released one from a doctor who treated him on scene, but they really haven't given any other information. So,
I'm looking for the autopsy. The autopsy's out there. And the coroner's report is vague. And the coroner's really, I mean, there's just so many instances that occurred with that. Coroner has full authority over the scene. You don't mess with the scene. You don't move the body. You don't do anything without the coroner's permission. In this particular case, the body was immediately grabbed and moved. You say, well, it was justified. We were trying to save his life. Okay, I'll give you that one. But you don't mess with the crime scene. And we have the video recording within minutes after they left to try to see if they could save his life at the hospital. They're tearing the stage down. They're tearing the whole situation.
They're taking everything down. And now, from what I've been told, I have not. What I've been told is they are actually starting to fill in walls where,
correct.
I mean, they're changing the grounds.
Yeah, they're doing a total remodeling. And the question is, who authorized it and why? That's only give authorization of the coroner. You know, the death report can only be authenticated by the coroner. We have no authentication from the coroner as of this date. You say, what do you have? You have a medical doctor at the emergency room giving his statement of his opinion as to what happened. He doesn't have the jurisdiction, the authority to rule whether it was a murder, whether rule it was a accidental, whether rule that it was a space alien shooting him with a laser ray. None of that matters. The coroner has to do that. Why has that not been done? Why have we not been able to find the bullet? We find every other one. Why can't we find this one? Why have we not been able to come up with a reasonable explanation as to where the firearm would be? Not one that I took it all apart, ran across the roof. I don't know how I could run across the roof with it all apart. You not see some of the parts, or not being incapacitated in my running by having all these parts stuffed down my pants. Anyway, I'm Superman. I run across the roof, jump down with no ill effect, have all these parts in my pants, take off, stop, come to the screeching halt, say, gee, I forgot. I better put this thing back together and leave it over here to my right so that it'll have the weapon that I used. Why would you want to turn over your own evidence? And then take off and run, just start running it. None of it makes any sense. And here's where we've talked about it before on your show. Here's the frustration for the American people. Do we want to think our government is not truthful with us? Do we want to think that they're covering things up? So before you answer that, because we know there is precedent that's happened in the past, but no American wants that. That's the least thing we need. So why are you giving them the opportunity to have to go down that route when you won't answer their questions? You won't give facts. You just quickly come in and say, "Yep, got our guy. He confessed. End of discussion. Don't move on to another story. Doesn't to see here anymore. We'll take care of it from this point." And now his friends, that were on his staff, are coming out and saying this doesn't make sense. Was this a conspiracy? Was this a setup by a number of individuals or organizations or countries, for that matter, to try to eliminate him? His own best friends are saying, "Look, we have writings and text from him that raise the question of this whole particular subject." And when they do that, John, what do you think the American people are supposed to do? Oh, we don't believe that kind of stuff because those conspiracy theories come across, a dime a dozen. We used to think that, but we've had the government lie to us one time too many, John. And now they have to say, I hope they're not lying. But since you did it before, what the chances are that maybe you're doing it again? And then when you come back and you kind of close the case so quickly and you're not opening, you're not giving any information, you haven't heard anything about it, have you, John?
I would say for the last month, it's been crickets on any new information.
It's been crickets.
And I could say, but here's the other thing. They're not saying now we are withholding every piece of evidence because we want to, save the investigation for trial. They haven't come out. That's not the answer they're giving. And I'm sorry, once you do that big dog and pony show, sorry, the toothpaste was out of the tube when they did that.
You're exactly right.
That makes things very, very difficult for them to come back and say, "Oh yeah, we're just trying to, preserve the investigation."
But notice what they're doing, John, and it shows the power that they have over the media. You don't see a lot of people asking about it anymore. Okay, I'm done. Now we're moving on. Now the new headlines are, is J.D. Vance and the widow, a little too close together than they should be. I mean, it's amazing how they quickly shift from, we're not going to worry about the murder anymore, the assassination, that's done. I think they got that one covered. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about some other gossip that we can go after. And American people seem to be letting them get away with it.
Okay, so here's something that I would. Some of the American people are definitely, definitely. I would say everybody on the left wants that to go. If you're on the left side of the aisle, or especially if you're very strong on the left side of the aisle, you want it to go away as fast as you possibly can, because everything is so bad from every position. What I'm concerned about is the issues that we're having here on the right. And the bottom line is, one thing that really bothers me is they showed the rooftop supposedly right after he gets done taking care of putting the rifle together and runs off the roof. And does he have it down in his pants, or is he carrying some type of bag, or does he have like a towel that he drops it down? Who knows what's going on there? But the other piece of information that we're told is there's Phil Lyman has questions whether he drove off on his own or was picked up by someone, and he has very credible reason to ask that. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the Candace Owens going after Phil Lyman on her show, and someone else from Utah saying, why were they there? I find it interesting. I'll leave that alone. But the bottom line is Phil Lyman has proven himself to be honest with the things that he says and that he believes to be true. And so the bottom line is, I go right now. Oh, so the camera shows him coming off the roof, shows him running across the roof. There's camera angles that should have shown him that. Why didn't the government release, this is the camera spot with him laying in a prone position supposedly, which he did do, taking the shot. That hasn't come out. But we've got tons of cameras and tons of camera angles just from the citizens holding up their cameras and videotaping the whole event.
Well, the other thing that you got that's very curious, John, is this. The official statement is that there were no air support, i.e., no drones, so there could be no footage or anything from air support. Then we find out it's not true. There were drones in the air. Twofold. If you take a look, if you have clearance, take a look at the government records, you'll see that there were government drones in the air. Second of all, you say, well, what if I don't get to have access to that? Plenty of people took pictures from the ground of drones flying overhead. So don't make a statement to me that there were no drones in the area. It's just simply not true. And this is where we're getting into some issues. Making a lot of statements that when confronted, you have to backpedal. That's not a good place to be, John.
Okay. So I want to get to what. Okay, so you were saying, let me let you finish that statement, and then I got a question for you.
But what I was saying is, it's not a good place you want to be. That's what causes more questions to come up. That's what gets us into what they like to label as conspiracy theories. And I've been very clear all along. People are not conspiracists. They just want all the facts. They hear something, they see something, and they ask a question. And when you recoil and say, I don't have time to answer that, that's a foolish question, or I'm not going to answer that, or I'm going to ignore you, that fuels the fire. Just answer the question in a truthful manner, and that's all the people want. Because when they have the truth, they can make their own conclusions, and usually those conclusions are correct.
Okay, so what do you feel we know other than, and I'm going to say I'm like 99.999% sure, but am I 100% sure that Charlie Kirk is dead? I'm willing to leave the window open just a teeny weeny, but I'm 99. I will be absolutely shocked. I'll be surprised if Charlie Kirk is still alive. I'm 99.999% sure Charlie Kirk's dead. Other than that, what would you say we know?
I think, other than what you just said, the fact that we saw, and I have to agree with you, you can't even be for certain that that wasn't somewhat staged. But you saw a person go down when there was a bullet sound that went off. That's all you can say for certain. You say, well, yeah, we got the guy. You don't know that. They say he confessed. Actually, he hasn't. The media's reporting that he confessed. He really hasn't. What he's been saying is that he was there. He didn't like Charlie. They've been kind of putting words in his mouth and saying he's given a full confession. He really has not done that. So he's really not implicated himself in this crime, quite frankly.
Was he taken to the police by his parents? Do you know if that's true or not?
That is not a true statement.
Really?
Correct.
Okay. Do we know how he got to the police? So let me say this real quickly. For those of you that are living in a box or have been in the woods somewhere or out of country, not anywhere near the internet, I want to say they even did it at the news conference. They said that one of the family members went to Tyler Robinson, said, "Hey, we recognize you. Let's take you. Let's get together with the police." I want to say even the sheriff came out and said, I want to say the Washington County Sheriff, where Tyler Robinson lived, not in Utah County where it happened, at the bottom of the state, which is about a 3-hour drive. It's about 3 hours from the place where the shooting was to supposedly where he lives, roughly a 3-hour drive. And in fact, it's over like 240 miles. So I mean, it's a significant distance, and it would take a significant amount of time to drive. So the bottom line is, we were told that like about 48 hours later, or 33 hours, somewhere in that neighborhood, 32, 33 hours later, the parents helped him turn himself in and went to the police station. What do you know? What do you understand to be true now? I'm not even saying what do you know to be true. I'm saying what do you understand to be true when it
Well,
comes to
let's dissect what you said. The father did communicate with the police station after the fact, after the son had already been down there and put himself in position and in line to be considered for, there was a substantial reward offered for information, leading to the arrest of a party that was associated with or could be found guilty of the crime. And yeah, he's first in line for that now. But what we do also know is there were a lot of friends, there were other people involved with him making his own decision, not his parents. His parents supported the decision after he was at the police station, after it had already been done, it was a done deal. They supported the decision, but they didn't initiate the decision. Big
did
difference.
they take him to the police station?
No, they did not.
How did Tyler Robinson get to the police station that you know of?
He got there with friends.
Friends took him. That is completely off. That is completely different from what we were originally told.
There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be completely different from what you were originally told.
I wonder if Michael Letts, if the government doesn't want to hear what Michael Letts has to say. Could that be why he just disappeared? No, I'm assuming he was doing something with his phone. So we'll give him a minute to come back on. Wow. Okay, so that's new. That's new information to me that's not been really talked about in the public. One reason why I like to have Michael Letts on, because he's willing to say things that most people aren't. He brings out good information, and he seems to be, well, not seems to be. Michael Letts, as my producer said about Michael Letts, and I believe it was after one of our shows, one of my producer, Dwayne, who's not with us today, said, he goes, boy, Michael Letts said a lot. And he goes, we'll see what, and I said, and he goes, I believe it because he's yet to be wrong. And I'm like, when was the last time he was not right about the information that he shared with us? And he's like, I don't remember. So
They're trying to cut me off. They won't be telling you too much, John.
That's what I'm wondering. So I just told the audience that is a complete different narrative that his friends took him in. It's a complete different narrative than what is. If you were to talk to most people that know about that, they would say the parents drove him there and took him there. That's what
you're going to find a lot of different parts of the narrative that are going to be changing. And now is a question as to whether he really can even be charged with the murder or not, because of the other information that's coming out. So, again, unfortunately, does the government either jump to conclusions that they want us to believe, or perhaps maybe they're just anxious to be able to say they got one solved, they scored one, or they did it for a reason because they didn't want you to know what was really going on? You get to choose which one of those you would prefer to lean towards right now. But I can tell you right this, I think it is without question that there is a lot of information you have been told that either has been misrepresented, is not true, or not accurate, and there's a lot of information that has been said that still needs to be further vetted. That just doesn't pass the mustard.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to bring out to the audience about the Charlie Kirk assassination? Is there anything that you think is worth mentioning at this time?
I do think we need to just throw this out there. Folks, I understand there's a lot of questions. You can leave one to quickly say, well, was Charlie Kirk assassinated for a reason? I mean, was it his own people? Was it another country? Was it our government, etc.? Those are all fair questions.
Okay,
but
that leads.
Let us get through everything. Try to make sure the facts get out before we start making assumptions.
Okay, did you find it out of the norm speaking of the way his security team acted, his immediate, and I'm talking about the security team members, did you find the way that they were acting right after the shot, interacting with one another to get before they actually picked him up and got him out? Did you find that to be an ordinary interaction between them?
I did, but not just that. I find it odd that they changed the security detail at the last minute. I find it odd that the people that they brought in at the last minute were a former team who are strongly connected with Israel. You say, oh, so no, I'm not saying they did or didn't do it. I'm just simply saying there are a lot of key questions as to why that all put together at the last second. I still don't have the answers to it.
Okay. And I'll just say I've seen, I'm trying to remember who specifically it was. I want to say it was on InfoWars, and I can't remember if it was Alex Jones or one of his other people. Had former bodyguards in special forces, and special forces will do a lot of, and I want to say it was Green Berets said, I don't like the way they were acting and interacting with one another because it looked like they were passing things back and forth between one another. And it was very out of the ordinary interaction of what would happen right after someone being shot. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Sounds like
I can tell you this: the team that was brought in at the last second has a very, very good team, but their expertise is in foreign. Is in protecting the Israeli government and Israeli dignitaries. And why they were called in at the last second, what happened to his normal security detail team? We're still having to try to piece that one together. We can't get any answers.
Well, let's walk away from Charlie Kirk because we have spent 40 some odd, close over 30 minutes on that. So I was not intending on spending that much time. The next thing that I want to get to is I want to get your thoughts on what's happening in Venezuela. I am going to bring up a text, and please forgive me, folks. I am pulling up my text messages so I can read. I want to read these two text messages from a friend of mine, but I think he kind of talks about a number of the points that people have issue with. There are others that have given me similar feedback, so I'm just going to start with this. Let me see if I can find that. So the first thing he talked about is, let me make sure that I'm right here. He goes, does this make sense for boat drug runners to keep getting into boats only to be blown up by Hexes, and he says Hell's Angels, and he says no, it doesn't. It is not logical. These are not drug boats. This is, he goes, these are not drug boats. He said Trump's goon squad would realize this if they even bother to board and search a vessel. Oops, no drugs. Trump tells us these must be drug boats because that is the excuse that we will use to invade Venezuela and steal the oil, the mineral rights. MAGA Donald will lie to us. The man who is hiding the Epstein files would never lie to us. Okay, so
A lot in that text.
well, yeah, there is a ton in the text. So first things first, let's just hit, and then in another text, he well, another text he said when it comes to the the drug boats. He goes, I don't even think they're drug boats. He goes, John, Venezuela isn't the problem. There's not the cartels aren't, huge in Venezuela. And I go, okay, this is where I've got to raise my hand. I've spoken with a couple people from Venezuela who have lived in Venezuela. One of them is, now I must admit, this was about 6 to 9 months ago, the last time I talked with this individual, but I don't think things have gotten cleaned up in 6 to 9 months. There's one of the things he shared with me. He goes, the reason why I left Venezuela and I'm now a citizen of the United States, but he goes, I have a number of family members that are in Venezuela. And he goes, the cartels run it. And he goes, the question is the president of Venezuela, is he the cartel or is he run by the cartel? And in some ways you could say it doesn't matter a bunch, but the cartels and the left, what would be the equivalent of the left here in the United States, run Venezuela.
Cartels do run Venezuela. Madera is a member of the cartel. We have that verified through our intel sources. So the cartels run the government, but Madera is how they run the government because he's part of the cartels. Why do you think he is working so diligently now? It's kind of like initially he was telling us to go take a hike, but now he's trying to figure out, is there anything that can be done to avert us going in to Venezuela and eliminating the issue. Let's go back and frame this because we're going to deal with every one of the questions that were raised. So how did all this come about? You had the cartels who were part of an organized effort to destroy America from within and also make a killing off of it. Who were their partners? China was one of their biggest partners. China provided the chemicals to make fentanyl, among other things. Now, fentanyl, people have different choices, just like they like Coke or they like Pepsi. There's different choices. So fentanyl was one of the drugs, but there's still the plain old heroin, cocaine, etc. as well, which is produced in Venezuela, Colombia, and other countries in South America. And they were having free access with the previous administration, with the Biden administration, to bring as much of it as they possibly could across our borders, basically unhindered, and kill off as many of our kids as possible. We lost hundreds of thousands of young people died during those 4 years. The administration kept very quiet from drug overdose, from fentanyl, from cocaine, etc. So, and it wasn't just we're talking about the teenagers, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. We're talking about young adults, 20, 25, people who are our prime age to do what we need done for our first responders, to serve in those roles, to serve in the military, etc. So they were weakening the strength, the very core of America, by what they were doing with this drug processing. And of course, they were making a killing off of it. Drugs is a big deal. They expanded it, John, to not just doing drugs. They use human sex trafficking, kind of a 2-for-1 business, okay? What they did was very simple. I take you across. Oh, you can't pay me. Don't worry about it. You can work it off. How long is it going to take me? We'll let you know. And they put them in sex slavery. And the sad part about it is they never do work it off. They're dead before they can ever, quote unquote, work it off. So it became just a real big magnet for them to raise billions of dollars. Trump comes in and says, okay, we're going to fix this problem. First thing we're going to do is we're going to seal the border. It took us what, John, about 30 days, maybe a little less? 0% from tens of thousands coming across a day to 0. Now, to their credit, they're smart boys. We're going to go up to Canada then and come down. A lot bigger border, a lot longer. And I'll give them credit. Canada's a rough territory, okay? So not sunshine walking across there. It's snowy and there's a big buffaloes and big elk that don't like you stepping in their territory. But to their credit, they try to get people across. They did. And so you begin to still get some of it. Now, we're in the process, let me quickly add in here. The Trump administration is still under the way of securing the northern border. And we're doing a lot of things. We're not building a wall. We're providing electronic surveillance, which is really becoming very effective. And we're dealing with that, closing that border off. But the difference is, so you know how it's successful, the cartels started losing billions of dollars. Nobody likes to lose billions. So what did they say? We got to find another way to get this stuff in here. We can't get it in through Mexico. Where else should we go? Venezuela was all too happy to say we can launch it from here. So is Colombia. Mexico is trying to figure a way. Well, we can launch it not going through the border, we'll go through the oceans instead, through the Gulf of America or on the Pacific side. And they put those situations in place. So what does the president do? He holds a press conference here in America, saying, "Look, we're not just going to seal the border and protect our citizens. If they won't understand that you don't get this stuff to America, leave us alone, then we're going to go to the source of where it's at and we're going to eliminate it." And he fulfilled his promise. First of all, you saw we captured and sunk a couple ships in the Gulf of America, sunk one off the Pacific. Then we went and put it in a blockade of Venezuela. Now, that blockade that was there, little does the mainstream media tell you. I just heard your comment. Those are not drug boats. Have you ever been involved with the drug cartels? I lived in Mexico for 15 years. Okay, I was grew up amongst the cartels and how they operate. There is no such thing as a drug boat. Let me tell you how it works. You get the most high-powered speedboat you can find, and you outrun anything that's coming after you. Yeah, you don't want to make a little two-seater that you can only put one little small baggie of cocaine, and that's not worth it. But you reposition, you rework the boat so that it's got cargo space that it's not destined, it's supposed to have. You make extra stuff in there, you pack it full of drugs or armaments, you get in there and you take a run for it. We found out, well, who's stupid enough to run against the U.S. Navy, the U.S. military? Gang members. They partnered with Tren de Argueta. Tren de Argueta is a Venezuelan gang. Nobody would argue that. You've even got the president of Venezuela, Madera. We've got intel showing that he has publicly stated that he's willing to help send Tren de Argueta gang members to help disrupt and destabilize the American government. That's a known fact, okay? So they're putting him on these boats. What's the president supposed to do? You really think you can outsmart and outrun the U.S. Navy? Okay, give it a shot. What did they do? They did. Now, here's what the mainstream media start telling you because it doesn't fit their narrative. They did get warning shots. We fired them over the bow. These people are cocky. They thought they could.
Do we fire a bullet over the bow with every one of them, or
Except for the submarine? We sunk a submarine that was full of drugs. We picked that up by sonar. We sent a signal through sonar to surface and be boarded, and they ignored that. You say, "Oh, that's not true." Let me tell you, before you say it's not true, this was just 24 hours ago, maybe 40 hours ago. My days run a little bit together with all that we're doing. Sorry about that, John.
that's okay?
But we just stopped a boat, a power boat. We've got the video of it. It's it doesn't look like a normal. It's not a luxury liner. It's not a huge ship, but it's got a massive engine on there, and it can move. It can haul. They know what our position has been. You haul in the past. We just send a little missile. Whoop! You're gone. You're down at the bottom of the ocean for your fish bait. This one stopped. What did we find when we boarded it? 60 Tren de Argueta gang members. We've documented them all. We're on board. Besides 5,000 pounds, I think, of cocaine, fentanyl, etc. I mean, this one was well loaded. So you can't make the argument, as the Democrats do, these people deserve due process. You don't even know for sure what they got because you've never been on their boat. Yeah, we have. We've been on the boats that will allow us to be boarded and to see what they're transporting. We have every right to do that. We are protecting the American people, and we have every right to board you to see what your cargo is, especially if you come from a foreign country that is known to export drugs. I don't think anybody, I don't care if even a liberal Democrat, would argue that we know that Venezuela, Colombia, and other South American countries, their main economic stimulus is they transport drugs. They are in the drug dealing business. That's how it works. And so we gave them that chance. And most of those boats we talked about before then, decided they would test the U.S. Navy. Bad choice. They lost.
Okay, so here's another thing that I've heard talked about on some other shows is they say, well, here's the thing. Yes, we wind up taking out the drug boats. And I want to get to his thoughts on the drug boats and what he thinks should be done. And there's a part of me that kind of like there's a part of me that agrees with him a little bit, actually pretty significantly. But from they know where the drugs get cooked, where they
Correct.
get I don't know what
We know where they grow them, where they harvest them, and where they produce them.
So they follow it from that point to the production point, from the harvesting point to the production point. From
Correct.
the production point, it's picked
The
up,
transportation.
it's transported to a boat. Then from the boat, they hop in a boat, and every single boat that I've seen so far look the same. They've got 3 to 4 large outboard engines. Just by looking at it, I could be wrong, but from looking at it, they look like anywhere between 150 to 200 horsepower outboard engines. They might be 100. It might be, and it's like 3 or 4 outboard. Anywhere between 100 to 200 horsepower outboard engines. Even if they're 100 horsepower outboard engines, which I would be very surprised. My guess is they're 150 or 200. That's anywhere between 400 and 800 horsepower that is going full tilt boogie along in the ocean. And it's not like even the Miami Vice cigarette boat, that they used to run. It's not that same. It's not even that good of a looking boat. It's a boat that's kind of an open bow. You can see into, you can see in there a little bit. Now his point is, John, I don't see any drugs in there. He goes, I see some people in there, and he goes, they're not being stopped. He goes, well, why aren't we stopping them? Your statement is that we do warning shots across the bow to get them to stop, and they haven't up until very recently.
We try to communicate with them first on a frequency, which they ignore. I can't make you pick up the radio. And then if you're going to ignore our frequency calls, fire one across the bow.
They may not even have a radio, because I can see the cartoon like, we don't want you to have a radio. We don't want you communicating. We want you running.
Yeah, exactly. But you understand, from our perspective, we have to do everything we can, give every bit of intent to be able to verify what we've done. Remember, you say, oh, so you didn't know who they were. No. We've got satellite imagery. We saw where the drugs came from. We saw the transportation. We saw the route. We saw it being loaded. We know that that's what's on the boat.
Okay. You also said that there's one other human intel piece with a lot of
There's boots on the ground.
Okay.
There's intel. There's boots on the ground.
And then, so his point, and this was like, I would like to see them do it. I would like to see them board these ships or do something that they could. You've shared with us that there's a lot going on, and I'm going to take you and Michael Letts just doesn't say these things what he guesses. He has some pretty good sources. Exactly who all those sources are, I'm going to let him keep that to himself. I'll trust him on it because he's been accurate so far. But the bottom line is, there's a part of me that would like to see them get captured by the Coast Guard, or at least have them get out of the international waters and into the United States. He goes, well, John, they're attacking boats in international waters. What gives us the authority to attack them in international waters? Can you answer that?
Sure, I'd be glad to, because we've designated them as domestic terrorists. Once we gave the cartels the designation of domestic terrorists, we now engage military operations. And that engagement allows us to track them anywhere in the world. I don't care whether you're in international waters. I don't care whether you're in Germany. I don't care whether you're in Australia. I don't care where you're at. You're designated as an enemy combatant. We're going to find you and we're going to take you out.
What is the concern with not letting them into United States waters?
Well, it's not a matter of not letting them. You run a risk because, radar is not perfect, tracking is not perfect, GPS is not perfect, and you run a risk of them being able to escape. And we don't want that stuff getting into our hands, even running that possibility. But let's take that minute and run with that for a minute. So you're coming to U.S. waters. We apprehend you because trust me, I want to back up to a statement you made a minute ago. Uh, Nobody wants to be boarded. Okay, so that gives me an option. Do I take 30 cows, which will hit those gas tanks and blow that thing up anyway? Fire a missile and blow it up, or just how else do you plan on stopping it? Or fire on the pilots, the drivers, and take them out. I mean, the end result's the same. If they don't voluntarily cooperate, they're going down. Whether they go down to the bottom of the ocean or they sit there and float, which they're all dead because you just riddling it with machine gun and artillery fire. I mean, either way, the end result's going to be the same. So that having been said, if they don't want to stop, then they've got ill intent, in our opinion. They're trying to hide something. So now you said, well, let's go ahead and let's just follow them, for lack of a better word, the U.S. waters. Okay, they're still not going to stop, but maybe we will meet them on the dock or meet them on the beach and apprehend them there. Now look at all the leftists that we've got in this country. Oh, they set foot on American soil. They're due process, habeas corpus. They're due, let's put them in jail. Then we have to get evidence. We have to try them. We have to see motive and intent. Why do I have to put all of our resources to doing that when you know good and well what their motive and intent was? They got it all on them. They loaded the boat full with it. I don't think anybody would argue what their intent was. But now I've done open it up to a process, and it's kind of weird. We take it in this country we're prideful of it. Well, you're going to guarantee to get habeas corpus. Why should you deserve habeas corpus when you're not a citizen of this country? When we do that, let's go back to. I realize we were declared war, but you remember technically we have declared war on the cartel by listing them as enemy combatants and domestic terrorists. When we declared war on Germany or Japan, do you think we would have allowed uh, ships, boats, whatever you want to call it, recreational things with 10, 15, 20 soldiers to just come right up in the international water, out of international water, go to our shore and just walk on in and say, oh, you're not here, you shouldn't be here, so we're going to detain you and give you habeas corpus, so put you in court to figure out why you came to our country. They would have been shot on sight, and justifiably so, because we were at war. And war is a horrible thing, but it's meant to protect the people that we love. And you have the same situation here. We're going to protect our young people. We're going to protect our next generation that's coming up that are military age and all. We're going to protect them from this curse of fentanyl and crimes and the drug lords that have targeted them. And it's going to be rough. War is never a pretty sight, but it's necessary to make sure we protect the sanctity of life of the American citizens.
So I actually included in the email a wrong text. So let me ask you this before I get to another text, and he gets a little bit into Mexico. Is Venezuela a worse place for drugs and getting drugs to the United States than Mexico? How much, or is Mexico worse? Or is Colombia the worst? Or do they all work together hand in glove? I'm assuming there's at the very least, from time to time, I can see how the very, very top level, I'm trying to remember the names of the more infamous ones that have even had movies done about them. As far as the drug cartel guys, I can see those very top guys, the ones that are the very top of the cartels. They want to meet together just like the mafia and say, hey, we need to make sure that we're not fighting too much. If we're fighting too much, we're losing money.
Right.
But their their captains and their lieutenants and the sergeants, oh yeah, they'll fight for territory so they can get a little bit more. They definitely are up for fighting. And so my question is, how much do they work together? Who's the top dog? Who are the real top dogs other than Satan? But who are the real top dogs that are involved in this? And also the other thing that I'm going to say is, we've talked about when it came to child trafficking. I told you I'm convinced that there is money being given to the Democrats and some Republicans to make sure people make it across the border to get the doors open and to keep them open. Definitely during the Biden campaign, during when Biden was in office. My guess is that there's money coming into the United States, into politicians on the city, county, and federal levels that is going into government officials' pockets from Venezuela, Colombia, and et cetera. But they definitely are running it in their own country. So who is the top dog when it comes to who's the worst actors? Who's the ones that are really running things? Venezuela, Cuba, or Mexico, or is it a
Well, there's a team of them, John, and you know, it depends on how you define who is the top dog. They're the top dogs in each one of the jurisdictions. Um, which one out of the jurisdictions provides probably the greatest threat to America is probably Venezuela, with Colombia being a close second. You say, well, why is not Mexico? Mexico
yes?
used to be number one when you had the Biden administration because you had an open passage to come across and sell your stuff. So what did Mexico do? They subbed it out. Their drug lord said, "Hey, look, I'm smart enough to know I can't get enough of this in to meet the demand. So, drug lords in Colombia, drug lords in Venezuela, you sell it to me at wholesale. I'll mark it up, ship it on across." But when all that got shut down, you can see the huge economic impact, and that's why Venezuela said, "Well, fine, we'll find another way. We'll just get it there on our own. We'll just run it, boat run it. Planes are used. Colombia used a lot of planes, and don't be surprised that once we shut down, well, it's the easiest thing to do is just shut down the production. That way you don't have to shoot planes out of the sky. You don't have to blow up boats in the water because the transportation will cease and the market will dry up. But we're trying to work cooperatively. I guess that's one of the things that's a little frustrating is for all those, and I understand people have questions and we're open to questions. We want to answer every question that's there. But I want you to look at it from the perspective of what we're trying to do. I want to protect your daughter. I want to protect your son. So you tell me what's the best way to do that. And we're going to use this, get them in American waters again. Do you realize the complications of our legal system, what it would take? It's just much simpler to eliminate the source, eliminate its production, and eliminate the people that are involved with it. You say, well, that's a horrible thing to say. Well, let me expand a little bit. You want me to let child sex traffickers live? I mean, some people do things, John, that are not just stealing a banana from your backyard. Some people do things that, quite frankly, the penalty is they don't shouldn't be around anymore because they've harmed and hurt so many people. These people that we're talking about, the cartels, the drug dealers, have killed. They have the blood on their hands of hundreds of thousands of kids through either death by drugs or enslavement in sex camps. Why would you not want to eliminate those? I get the liberal side. Well, everybody deserves a chance. I don't know that I buy that. You burned up hundreds of thousands of chances. You've shown that you're beyond any value in society. Now, I'm not saying your soul doesn't have value. I'm saying your occupation has no value, and you either made a really bad choice and need to figure out how to get out really quick, which there are ways to help people get out of this situation if they want to. We can always use informants. We can always use, people that will help us make sure we're eliminating this problem. So there's ways for you to get out of it. If you've chosen not to get out of it because it's too lucrative, makes you too much, and you don't care about the consequences on human life, children's life, I don't think you deserve to live, John.
So he's also concerned about the CIA being involved in regime change. Uh,
I am too.
and I am, and I would say we know that the CIA is there. In fact, I want to say Trump has come out and said that the CIA has been in there for a number of months. But there's also, I'm going to say, so I'm worried that. Let me put it this way: I think it's Syria that the CIA helped take out their president, and now we have someone that's a former Taliban, former terrorist, that is the president of the country, and Trump met with him. It's like, there's a part of me that goes, is the CIA going to take out this guy, and we're going to actually get somebody worse? And I'm really
That's
concerned.
happened.
Pardon me?
That's happened quite a few times in past history. Look, I mean, as much as we didn't like Gaddafi, Gaddafi was an idiot and a maniac and a nut. He never did anything against American policy. He never harmed us. He kept that section of the Mideast in line. He kept them from killing each other. He actually, so shockingly, when you look at what he did for the Libyan people, man, he had educational programs. I mean, he took his oil and he didn't put it in his own back pocket. He used it to the rest of the people of Libya. They were extremely prosperous, doing so well that it caused previous administrations under the Clintons to say, we can't have this kind of stuff going on. We got to change the regime and eliminate it. So we've done that before. We've taken good regimes. I mean, look at what happened in Iran with the Shah. Shah was, very strong proponent of American policy. We worked very well with him. But somebody decided they didn't like the way he was conducting business. So we were going to overthrow the government. What did we get? We got the Ayatollah instead. We went what you're saying. We went from what we thought was bad, and I'm not saying that he was a great person. I'm just saying, like compared to Ayatollah, we had it good compared
Yeah.
to what we got with the Ayatollah. Same way with Libya. Same way with Iraq. Saddam Hussein and his two sons. His sons were the worst. I mean, violated, murderers, killed so many people. Did they deserve to die? No question. But look, we took our assets that went in there and eliminated them. And what happened? Is Iraq better off now because we were there? Or has it become a quagmire of Taliban, ISIS, and others that have raised and risen and are making it worse to the people than what they had before and using their resources now to target America? But, we got to be careful what we do.
I would say the average Iraqi would say life was a lot better under Saddam Hussein. And we were a lot happier with the United States than they are now.
Correct.
Okay, so there's one other thing that I want to bring up when it comes to Venezuela and Colombia and frankly, the whole Western Hemisphere. China and the Belt and Road, they are getting over here. And so my question to you is how much is China involved in Venezuela?
Heavily involved. You say, why would you make that statement? Who does China? Who does Venezuela border to the north? Ghana. Who has some of the greatest mineral resources yet untapped? Who is trying to play? You brought this up a minute ago. Venezuela has its own mineral resources. I mean, oil, et cetera, et cetera. So why do they not want to help control mineral resources that are needed especially for military production and for technical production, high tech instrumentation? So yes, they would love. Why do you think Madera sent an urgent plea out 2 days ago to Putin and to Gigi at China? Please help. We're under threat of invasion from the United States. Yeah, they. You think they turned around and said, "Heck no, we're not going to mess with you." Now they're not going to tell us that, but they would love to see.
They pretty much. He reached out to Putin and Putin has been like incommunicado.
Right.
Putin has not said anything that I know of, that I'm aware of internationally, anything like, hey, we're going to help you out. No, pretty much is given the message is should be received. You're on your own. You better figure it out. And I'm
Well, there's
assuming,
a public message and there's a private message. And let me tell you what the private message always is. I can't afford to get in the middle of your squabble. However, should you resolve your squabble and you're still in power, you're the top dog, I would be happy to sit down and figure out how we can help your economy and ours by helping you mine and your resources. And maybe we could help provide some military assistance with equipment, et cetera, in return for the favor. That's always an understood rule.
have you read the book Economic Hitman? I want to say it was by John Perkins.
You are correct. Yes.
I'm like, John Perkins gave pretty much, I'm sure every country knew it, but China is finally doing what the economic hitman was doing when he was, in the middle of his heyday. That's what they're doing, and they're probably doing it even more so than the United States. So, let's move on from. I want to give you any last thoughts on Venezuela. I want to share what he texted me in regards to Mexico, though.
Well, I'm afraid to talk about Mexico now because let me tell. Well, go ahead and tell me anything else because we're pretty much done with Venezuela. I've got some comments to make on Mexico, but you said he had a comment about Venezuela.
No, let's finish up our thoughts on Venezuela and then let's go to Mexico.
Well, let me give you a quick thought on Venezuela. We have given them every ample opportunity to cooperate. What do we want from Venezuela? First and foremost, leave our people alone. Don't provide any more drugs. Don't try to find sneaky ways around it. Second of all, we'd be happy, Venezuela, to have mutually beneficial partnerships with minerals, et cetera, but not at the expense of our citizens. And that's what we're proving right now by what we're doing. So we've given you every opportunity to make sure that you get the message. No more drugs to our country. But since you can't seem to understand that language, we're going to back up. Unlike what other presidents have done, we back up what we say. We've already sent the carrier fleet there. We've got 10,000 troops in transport ships off the coast. We've got all of our aircraft that are necessary for to extract and to insert our special forces. We have our special forces team there already. And we're bringing on another carrier group just to be on standby, just in case. I don't know how else to tell you. You better get it together quick. But we're going to come in and we're going to eliminate. We're not going to come in on the ground with boots to have afternoon tea. There's no need to go to war. You say you can't do it without congressional approval. You're correct. We're not going to war. We didn't go to war in Panama. We didn't go to war in Grenada. We saw threats to national security. We went in, and then within 48 hours, we were done. You'll see the same situation here. We going in, there won't be any drug transports coming out of Venezuela or Colombia anymore. We'll eliminate the problem. So keep that in mind. Choose wisely, as the old movie would say. Choose wisely.
Let's go to what he had to say about Mexico. He said Trump needs to recall all U.S. citizens to come home, stop all U.S. tourism to Mexico. There will be a lot of death coming. These cartels kill citizens to send a message. These deaths fall onto Trump, the peace president. In the future, Americans will have to be very careful to where they vacation throughout the world. Americans identified will be targeted. Terrorism just grew because of Donald Trump's actions. Did Mexico invite U.S. forces in, or did the bully tell Mexico, we are coming in and you have no say? This will kill off tourism. What are your thoughts?
I think he has some validity, but I think it's got to be in context. First of all, it doesn't make any difference whether Donald Trump is in the office or Joe Biden or anybody else. Terrorist organizations are going to do what they are going to prey on Americans, especially if they think we're weak and there's no consequences. So you're not going to change a terrorist mind, which is what the cartels are. They're terrorist organizations. So now, knowing that's their mindset, let's talk about reality. We had, when we shut down the borders, and the drug cartels from Mexico, northern Mexico especially, made the statement that, okay, we're going to retaliate. You have any tourists come over here, their lives may be in jeopardy. You remember we had two senior citizens that were injured with IEDs that were planted by roads. But the straw that broke the camel back is you remember we had 9 university students who crossed, and they're against our advice. We had already issued travel warnings. Don't go into northern Mexico. They did it anyway. And they were captured, tortured, and basically chopped up, murdered, and I mean, gruesome, horrific things done. We said, okay, you want to play those games? We'll play those games. We didn't say it publicly, but you heard me make the comment. We have the best special ops in the world. Now, let me ask you a question, John. Have you heard anything out of the northern cartels since?
I actually was going to say there was a lot more beheadings and there was a lot more killings when Joe Biden was president in northern Mexico of United States citizens than there has been in the last number of months. It has been quiet. I don't hear you telling me, and I don't hear others telling us about stories of the North Mexico cartels shooting into the United States like they were doing back under Biden. That's not happening. So the direct answer to your question, it's, I wanted to give it context, but the direct answer to your question is no, I have not heard. Not recently.
You're not going to be able to because they're gone. Now, the Southern Cartel is a different story. They migrated south, what was left, they escaped what was left, migrated south, became part of the Southern uh, Cartel organizations. And the Southern Cartel has now taken a position. We're going to resume power for all of Mexico. We're not crazy enough to move north. It's still too close to your country. We're going to stay south, but we're going to get other people. Remember, because how many millions came in here illegally? They've got a vast network in this country that still exists.
So the stated amount I've heard is 10 million. Do I believe it was
Closer
10
to 20.
Yeah. And how
Closer
many
to 20
million?
million.
How many million did we have in before Biden as well?
That's correct. So what are they doing? They say we don't need to sit on the border anymore. We've got our people already. We've got our what we call FOBs, forward operating bases, that are already existing in America. So let's start putting them to use. So what did they just do? What a week ago, a week and a half ago, maybe? They said, okay, we'll put a $10,000 bounty on every head of every ICE officer or any other law enforcement officer in America that's killed. We'll pay out $10,000 for proof and evidence that you did it. And so, what are we sending a message now? You want to play that game? You might do a seance and ask your former colleagues that were up north how well that turned out. But you keep it up because you're going to meet the same fate. And what our message to the Mexican government has been, I get it. You're run by the cartels. You can't afford to piss them off because you will be gone if you do. So we gave you ample opportunity to fix your own country. You're incapable of doing so. Don't worry about it. We got it covered for you. You'll be seeing that happen here shortly, John.
Well, so
Answering the question that you raised, I mean, what does that do to tourism? You could say, well, now there's going to be retaliation, so nobody's safe. You better stay in America. I respect your opinion on that. But I can also tell you the opinion may be, you know what? Maybe you should better not mess with an American, regardless of where they're at, because it might be hell to pay if you do. There's also that.
I'll also throw this piece in. going. They are going after the left in Mexico is going after U.S. citizens, expats that are down in Mexico trying to live at lower costs. They're having problems
Correct.
down
True.
there because of the flow of people being cut off heading into the United States. They're being given problems in Mexico City, and yes, they're going after ICE. But the problem is to anyone here in the United States that might go after an ICE officer. First of all, just to the general leftists and United States citizen, don't do it because you don't have a way to prove it, and they won't pay you.
Correct.
I guarantee you that. Then and $10,000 is not going to help your legal bills.
It won't even come close.
Yeah. That's a losing thing to do. To the cartel members, that's who they're really saying we're going to give the money to if you take out ICE and you can prove it. They're the fellow cartel members. $10,000 isn't worth it. I wouldn't do it. Have we had some law enforcement killed and ICE killed? Yeah, absolutely, that has happened. But the bottom line is you're going to pay a really heavy price, and the math is not going to work out for you.
It is not a good idea, just like it's not a good idea for the Venezuelans to think they can outsmart the U.S. Navy. Never works out very well.
Let me think. Have we covered? I want to just pull up his text that I got from him real quickly. Look over those real quick. Okay, so how much does Donald Trump? So he voted for Donald Trump. My understanding is he voted for Donald Trump in 2024, and he's just disappointed. Kind of, I would say, disappointed on what Donald Trump hasn't done. He thinks that he should have done more. I'm going to say when it comes to these cartels, I have mixed emotions. There's a part of me that says, as soon as they come on our borders, we just take them behind the woodshed, take them out. And no, we don't, hey, you come here, it looks like you're doing something wrong. We're just going to shoot you. We're going to give you a 7-cent solution.
Right.
On the flip side of the coin, I also can see the perspective of let's go to them, let's go to the headquarters, go to them, and let's take them out. And our special forces back in the 80s and, back in the 70s and 80s, our special forces were not that great. Definitely even into the early 90s. Oh, the Israelis were much better than the special forces of the United States. Nowadays, I used to know some guys that were Green Berets here in Utah, and this is 20 years ago. They're very active.
They're the best. And it's not just because they're physically the best. We have technology par excellence. Better than anyone else.
It's well, one of the things back in the 70s and the 80s, post Vietnam, they weren't active.
Correct.
When you go out and when you operate, you hone your skills and you come back. And what makes it's kind of like with the American pilots. Also, so back in when they went from World War I to World War II, the thought process was you want turn radiuses, you want to do one-on-one, you do one-on-one dogfighting, and whoever has the most machismo and the best turn radius is going to win. Well, World War II comes around. No, whoever has the most speed and gets in unseen, does a gun run, and you attack as a pair or a wing of 4. That's who's going to win. And our numbers our kill ratios, like in China, before we went over to, and we found this out. You know, you want to be up high so you can dive down, and so what was going on is they'd go out on a mission, they'd come back, they'd share with one another, hey, this is what we did, this is what happened, this is what worked well, this is what didn't. You know, someone didn't come back because he did this. That's exactly what's happening with the operators. They go
Right.
out, and the reason why they're coming back the vast majority of the time is because we're really good at sharing with one another. Just, I mean, we could go in with the same lack of technology that the cartels have, and we still would be very successful. When you throw in the high tech stuff, we're even that much better.
You're exactly right, and that's what's so the biggest difference. To answer the question he raised, I think everybody is a little disappointed. And let's put it in context. You can say you're disappointed with Trump and he hasn't been able to do more. I think it would be fairer to say we're disappointed that we're having to fight our own people, and that's what keeps a lot of progress from being done. You know, there's a lot of misconception in the public today that I'm president. It's the same thing as me being a dictator. If I say this is what we do by tomorrow, this is what gets done. It doesn't work that way. We have a constitution, we have agencies, you have people in place you have to work with, you have to get consensus. And when you got people that are on the other side who've been there for decades trying to block what you're trying to do, it becomes much more challenging.
People in the DOJ, FBI, DHS, and every that were, you know, tons of them. Those mid level and upper level management that were hot that are there now. Those were brought in during the Obama era.
That's correct.
So just think, Obama was first got into office 15 years ago. So I think I heard the average age that someone gets into the FBI and DOJ and some of those positions. It's not 21. It's mid 20s to late 20s.
Correct.
That's
Early 30s.
And early 30s. So let's say that the person that came in was, just to make the math easy, let's say the average age is right. I want to say it was between 29 and early 30s.
Correct.
That puts those individuals at what? 45? That's right. That's where the mid-level management is, and that's where the real, hey, we're carrying out these orders, we're not carrying out these orders, and there's a lot of them that were very much on the Obama and Biden train. And when Biden came in, so no, actually that was 20 years ago. That when
that long.
Almost 20 years ago when Obama first came in, back in 2008. It's almost 20 years. So, Biden had the opportunity to move up, and his people were able to move up those people into command decisions, right, into command positions. So I'm going to say I have to give a lot of leeway to Donald Trump. We know for a fact that not only the lawfare that was committed against his supporters, we also know that there were a lot of people that weren't decision makers, and they got rid of them. COVID came. That was a great way for them to get rid of. As you know, that's how you and I first met, is through COVID.
That's correct.
You were totally against it, and you were like, "This is totally wrong, and we're going to lose a ton of law enforcement." And the answer is, we have lost a lot of law enforcement.
Almost 50%.
Almost what?
50%.
50%.
When Joe Biden came, was sworn in, we had roughly 1.4 million officers, sworn officers across the country. When he left office, he had a little over 700,000. You can do the math.
That is nuts. So let's get back to Mexico. I'm going to wrap it up with this thought process. Is there terrorism? Yes. But I think if they know that they don't mess around with United States citizens, when we prove that out, terrorism will go down, and they are eventually going to want the United States tourism back, because there's going to be enough people that are just regular Joe Schmoes. And if we can get rid of their growing fields and we burn those things down, I'm totally for it. And what else needs to happen? Plain and simple, I think it's worth saying to the cartel, hey, by the way, you've been put on notice already. Our special forces will outdo your guys.
Yeah, we basically just tell them, okay, you know how well we play. They've already seen it demonstrated once. They know. And I think they're not that stupid to give a picture to find out.
All right, let's go. Boy, we are down to about a little over 40 minutes, and we have covered just a few things. So let's hit the New York City mayor race. Mayor Adams. I was like Zoram Mamdani. I mean, so here's what I go. Here's where I'm at. The guy that's the Republican, he's got to be like, how terrible am I that I'm not up for consideration? How can I not be considered a viable candidate by enough of New York City? Now that Mamdani is the number one candidate, and how bad is how stupid are the people in New York City that they're willing to get Cuomo in? He should have been gone. He got a bunch of senior citizens killed, and he was, the reports are that he was grabbing butts and doing a lot worse with a number of the females within the governor's office when he was governor. I'm like, that guy is a total narcissist. Mamdani is just a communist idiot, and he's not really an idiot. The man comes from, very intelligent parents. He knows what he's doing. But so heard the stats today that those that are supporting, those that are United States citizens, support Cuomo by 9%, plus 9%.
Right.
But those that are foreign born support Mamdani by it's over 25%. I want to say it was like 30 some odd percent.
38.
I'm like, what in the crap are we doing having that many foreign born citizens that's ridiculous.
Well, what's interesting, John, is to put all this in perspective. The foreign born or the foreign influence have all joined the Democratic Party because they're trying to take it to the most progressive or leftist, socialist, communist type principles that they came from. And that's what they want to have happen here. And so the Democrats have lost control of their party. All the people coming into it are foreigners. You remember that it's the Democrats that don't want to identify whether you're an American citizen or whether we just call you an American because you happen to be standing on American soil at the time we're doing the count. And because of that, this is what has transpired and this is what has happened. They have now lost their Democratic Party. The socialist progressives have taken it over, and they are comprised of the vast majority of them are foreigners who are not even citizens of this country, taking over a very major political party. And this is how it works. Like we're just talking about the New York primary. The Democrats were discouraged, didn't really go to the polls, but you can be assured social progressives did. And that's how they got Mandami to be the nominee. And now they're trying to shame the Democrats that, look, if you don't get out and support our nominee, the party will be dead. So, and of course, they don't tell you what his real party. They don't tell you what his real platform is. It's just that he's trying to make sure that Everything is great for you. You get free transportation, free groceries, free housing. Uh, Never dawned on them that somebody's got to pay for that, John.
Yeah, that doesn't come for free. Um, so my guess is Zoran Mandami. I the question, and 9% of New Yorkers are saying they're going to leave, especially those New Yorkers that have the money to go are saying they're going to leave. Your thoughts on Trump saying they're going to go over and hit the terrorists in Nigeria that are attacking Christians?
I think that was a bold move that needed to happen.
Why?
I've been a big proponent of us not being the world's police force. However, when you have a specific group such as the Christians who are being targeted by ISIS and by terrorists and Muslims, you say, why did I make that comment? John, there's something we need to discuss on one of your shows upcoming that people don't want to discuss, but I've been discussing all across on national airways all across the country. We face a real threat in this country of Muslim takeover. People holler, so you can't say that. That's you're being anti-religious. No, sir. Religion does not affect. This is not a religion. It is a political ideology.
In
And
Dearborn,
ideologies. Yeah,
I
in
want to say it's
Dearborn. You're right.
Dearborn, Michigan. The mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, who is Muslim, I want to say someone came in there to complain. Hey, you guys are playing your call to prayer way too loud, and he looked at him and said, "You are a bigot, and I can't wait until you leave. In fact, I'm going to hold a parade the day that you leave." I
Correct.
guarantee you would not have a Christian mayor say that to a Muslim. And if they did, it would be all over the national news on how big of a bigot that mayor is. And these things are blared. It is loud. So yeah,
Yes.
and it starts from at 6 o'clock and ends at midnight.
And so what you're seeing here is a Muslim attempt to take over Nigeria. Who's killing the Christians in Nigeria?
The
It's
Muslims.
ISIS. It's the Muslims. And so I think it's entirely appropriate for Trump to say this, which is what he's communicated to the Nigerian government. It's your job to defend your citizens, both Muslim and Christian. If you won't go in and protect them, we'll go in. Here's what we're going to do. The discussion's already been held. We're not going to go in and have war or an occupying force. We're going to go in like we do in any other situation. Very quickly, eliminate the threat, and then make sure we arm those and tell them, look, we're not living here. We're not staying here. This is your country. This is your government. You make sure you do what's necessary to protect you. We're just going to give you the ability to defend yourself. That's why it's so important in this country that we maintain the Second Amendment right. Remember, those people over there don't have the ability to protect themselves. That's all we're going to do. Is we told the Nigerian government, do your job. But we're going to come over there, eliminate the threat, and then make sure that they can protect themselves. And we're out of there. We're not interested in staying there another hour. It'll be a very quick insertion and out. And why is this important? Because we need to send the message to this country, to the Muslims that think that they're going to do to us what they have done to Europe. And what have they done to Europe? Illegal immigration overrun by Muslims. They now control. In England, they've got such control politically that should you say anything negative about Islam, you'll get arrested for hate speech. You can say anything you want to negative about Christianity. You can throw a Bible across the room, stomp on it, burn it, but you do something to the Quran and you get arrested. We're not going to allow them to take over this country as well. That is their stated intent. I'm not making this up. You can look. There's over 100 videos. Anywhere you want to go, you can see what their stated intent is for this country. We need to stop it. We need to stop it now, John.
Okay, want to hit a number of subjects. We're down to less than 15 minutes. DOJ issues warning after California, and I'm just going to do the headlines and let you roll. but I want to mention these two things because you might be able to tie them together just a little bit. DOJ issues warning after California threatens to arrest ICE agents. What in the crap is going on there? And DOJ has evidence Democrats are hiking up crime statistics to make them look good in the midterm elections.
It's all part of what you just said. And they're poisoning themselves. The Democrats are poisoning to try to create an image to be able to win, regain power. It's all about regaining power. And they've done two things. Newsom, Prescott, Johnson talking about the mayor of Chicago, the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, have all said the next stage is we're going to start arresting federal agents, ICE agents, for arresting illegal immigrants who are here illegally and who are criminals. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. Little problem with that, folks. You don't have the ability legally to do that. The Constitution gives immigration the solely to the federal government. And we've already established the federal government. Look, we had this debate 250 years ago. There were 13 states. We could have each raised our own little militia and run around fighting each other and the British, and we would have been slaughtered. Or we decided to create a federal government, and its purpose, its first main purpose, was to provide for the common defense. And so, what we did with that situation is we gave the federal government certain rights. Anything we didn't give the federal government, the states maintained. But one of the things we did give the federal government was the ability to maintain the military and the ability to set immigration policy. And so, it's not even debatable. If you do that, you are obstructing justice. And I don't care whether you're the governor, former Speaker of the House. I don't care who you are. You do that, we're going to come knock on your door because we're nice people. And if you don't answer, then we're going to kick it in. And we're going to get out the little handcuffs, and you're going to jail for obstruction of justice. So, Governor, be very careful what you say.
And if you ram into our cars, whether you happen to be an illegal or you happen to be a U.S. citizen, you ram your car into the back of one of the ICE vehicles, haul their butts off.
Exactly.
Well, first of all, pull them out of the cars and make sure you rough them up a little bit.
Well, we definitely will do that.
I don't think you've ever heard me say that before. I may have said it to someone who's doing bad things to kids. But the bottom line is you ram a vehicle into ICE, you're committed an act of war. And if you expect them to not, bottom line is you might as well start shooting them. You've done the same thing as shooting at the ICE agents, and the ICE agents are going to shoot back.
Correct.
And the bottom line is I'm really grateful for those ICE agents that are making somewhere in the neighborhood of $75,000 to $80,000 a year starting wage. I'm really grateful they're there, trying to get rid of.
We all are.
Out of there.
And they don't need that coming from elected officials who know better, and that's why we're going to be so harsh, so strong on it. I think the second thing that you mentioned was they are. They're going to arrest agents, and there's something else you said that they were looking at doing. The Fed.
The other piece was threatens to arrest ICE agents. So what are they saying that they're able to do? How are they able to do that? California.
They have no jurisdiction. Yeah, it's not just California; it's Illinois and others. And the bottom line is they're just talking smack, is what the new terminology is. Because if they dare try to do it, they are in violation of federal law. It's obstruction of justice, which is a felony. They'll go to jail for it.
And then DOJ has evidence Democrats are making crime statistics look better for the midterms.
It's still part of the power play. You know what they do. How do they do that? And they do one or two ways. They make their crime numbers go way up if they're part of red states and there's a blue city to try to make red states look bad. Or if not, then they have them go way down. How do they make them go down? They just say, you know what, we're not going to report it as a crime statistic till after the trial. So if I arrest you today, John, that doesn't count. And how long does it take to get you to trial? What, 12, 18, 24 months? So you can see how we could quickly manipulate those figures. And that's what they're doing based on what their outcome is. If they want to make Republicans look bad in a red state, they jack their numbers up. The crime is really spiraling out of control. They're trying to keep the seats, the Democratic seats. We don't need these Republicans. Look at our new numbers. We're taking care of crime itself. Problem is, people are scratching their head, going, "Really? Doesn't look like it to me that crime's gone down." But that's what they're doing,
Chicago
John.
was happy to the people of Chicago in the inner city where they came in was happy to let them in. Okay,
Exactly.
I think we have one or two more topics. I want to go to this one, and this one's a little testy. So, APAC and Congressman from Florida, Randy Fine, equate Tucker Carlson basically to Hitler. The American Heritage the Heritage Foundation says they're going to stand by Tucker Carlson, and Josh Hammer in a Newsweek piece said of Tucker. Tucker is like a fox in the hen house and needs to be neutralized. Let's hit that last part. As a policeman, what do you take the term neutralized to mean?
Well, it
Especially,
means eliminate. That's what they're, and in fact, they're saying now that there's going to be a lot more. Senator Graham just came out today, said there's a briefing that there's going to be a lot more public executions. So what they mean by that is, like you remember, Charlie Kirk was assassinated publicly. You could see
right.
it was televised. There's going to be a lot more of that for people who do not support the cause of Israel. Now, what they mean by that, where that briefing came from, we're still trying to find out. I'm surprised Senator Graham would say that, but that's what he said today. Now, Tucker Carlson is was a vocal advocate and supporter of Israel. He's got some real questions right now. What's generating all this? There is the question about who actually killed. You know, I first started talking about this in the show. Who really killed Charlie Kirk? Was another government involved? Were agencies involved within the U.S. and outside the U.S.? Have these agencies been involved in previous assassinations or assassination attempts in our country? And people are asking questions. And now you're starting to really get, uh, unfortunately, because it's not the best for the United States, but you're getting within the Republican Party, they're trying to splinter us. You know, well, I thought we all supported Israel. Well, yeah, but we don't support Israel having undue influence in this country. Do you know? And then they begin to go down the list, and then it's beginning to kind of like, well, no, I didn't know. What are we going to do about it? And, oh, it's a cover up. They're pulling the strings. They're making us dance the way they want us. I'm not saying that none of that's true or that it is all true. I'm just saying these are the questions now being raised. These are what you're seeing politicians within the party now, Republican Party, taking sides. Yes, I don't believe that any government should be telling us what to do, which I take that position. But then there's those that are saying, "Oh no, you're just trying to give Israel a bad name. They've done nothing wrong, and we're solidly behind them, whatever they think is best." I'm solidly behind Israel too, but I do have some questions of myself. I've raised one of them: is why should we support Israel monetarily? I understand why we did that in 1948. They were just getting started. They wouldn't have survived without us. But they got pretty good wealth on their own now. So
So
why do we continue to pay our
the
tax dollars for
average
it?
income of an Israeli is higher than the average income of a United States citizen.
That's
Sorry,
right.
you can start paying your own bills. Increase your taxes. Our tax base here in the United States does not need to go to you. It doesn't need to go to other nations either. It's not
Yes.
just Israel. But the bottom line is we don't need to be giving Israel tons of money. You can pay your own way. And on top of that, as David Pine has shared, Israel gives some of our technology over to China, military technology. Okay, yeah,
There's some real issues here that really need to be discussed, John. I mean, and but that's where the dissension is coming from right now. And I think it's healthy dissension. You have those that would say, we can't have dissensions in the party. We've got to be unified now if we're going to maintain the course that we're on. I get it on both sides, John, but
Hey, Ben Shapiro, you don't want people from Somalia coming here and telling Americans, the American government what to do. Guess what? If you don't want them coming from Somalia telling American what to do, and you want them to be American citizens like Mrs. Ilmar, hey, Mrs. Elmar, you're America, you have American citizenship, and that's it. You're a citizen of the United States. If you want to be a citizen of Somalia, go back to Somalia.
correct. She should never be serving in Congress.
Yeah. So I do want to get to this last piece. FBI raid in Michigan exposes terror cell.
That's an interesting thing. I know what the facts are, but you've got a leftist liberal segment saying the FBI is just misrepresenting and creating a story that wasn't there. Let me quickly give you the story because we're running out of time. Intel picked up that there was a discussion in Dearborn, Michigan, which is the hotbed for Muslim and for Islamic jihadists. That's just a fact. I'm not stating anything that's not factual. Coming out of that area, saying that there was going to be a major event on Pumpkin Day, which obviously was Halloween. What really caused the red flag was there was interception of communication saying we're going to meet before, not hours before, but days before, and go to the range and make sure that we're proficient at changing out and reloading AK-47s in a rapid manner. Of course, AK-47s are, a long-range rifle that are single shot legally, but you can easily convert them to a fully automatic, which is illegal. So rather than being reactive, we were proactive, and we went in and raided and arrested. Now, we did that on a Friday. This is just 2 or 3 days ago. We did not charge until yesterday. We made charges yesterday. So the initial response over the weekend by the defense attorneys was, well, if you didn't even know what you're going to charge with, why'd you arrest him? This is just nothing but a bunch of baloney. There is no story here. There is no merit to the charges. Let me just tell you one thing the mainstream media has not reported on as of this afternoon, or maybe doing it while we're talking now. But one of the intels we got after the arrest through interrogation was that they had a storage facility. We raided it. What did we find? Countless AK-47s, 1,600 rounds of AK-47 ammunition, sidearms, tactical vests, tactical gear, etc. So this is what I just told a national news organization a little while before coming with you. I'd much rather be talking about how we were proactive. Maybe you didn't think it was necessary, than to be trying to defend how come we didn't do more when we're talking about 50 or 100 deaths of a terrorist attack. It really is a debate as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up. We made it through all the talking points. We didn't get to some others. So
there's a lot more, but we'll pick that up on the next go around, John.
So, folks, this has been KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah. You can go to kmmu.org and see all of the conversations we've had in the past. Also see shows from our other hosts, and from KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah, and kmmu.org. When you go to kmmu.org, you can click on at the top that we've got tabs that you can click on for YouTube, X, and Rumble, and you can go to our pages there to view those things. So I want to say thank you, Michael Letts of Invest USA. Michael, will you share a little bit about Invest USA, where people can go? I mean, you guys get bulletproof vests, and on top of that, you also are doing a lot of other things, trying to help get youth into law enforcement. Great work there. Definitely we need some good young people to get involved in law enforcement. Please go ahead and tell us a little bit about your organization, and then I'm going to say thanks for your time.
Thank you, John, so much. Appreciate what you do. Appreciate you getting the truth out. God bless you. God bless America. If you want to go find out more, go to INVEST USA. That's investusa.org. It's a charity.org. You can get up to date, help make sure that our law enforcement officers can come safely home to their families. We've got Broken Arrow Ranch that we're announcing, where we're going to be opening up a ranch to take care of all these sexually exploited children that we've been rescuing, hundreds of thousands of them. They need to make sure they're put back with their families, or that they get the right kind of help and counseling that they need to be able to break that lifestyle and be able to be productive again. We've also got, as John said, we're doing programs from academies to graphic novels to movies coming out to support what happens with law enforcement, to show people that it really is a calling. It's a worthy calling. It's one that our young people should aspire to, not be shunned away from by the mainstream media. God bless you, John. Thank you so much for being on the show. I think you froze on me, John. Hello. Hey, John. Can you hear me?